Hello there. I'm Sammy, as you know now, and I'm going to do a couple of poems for you. First one I'm going to do, I've not done before ever, and it's inspired by some of the amazing works by some of the other poets here, people that have addressed the subject of domestic abuse and domestic violence. So I was fascinated by the idea of, why some women, men, stay in a relationship in that environment and why others flee. And I don't suppose we really will ever know the answer until we're in that position. So this is taking a look at both of those sides, and it's called, hasn't got a name. I wrote it to accompany a bit of music, and that bit of music is a cover of Pink's song Family Portrait, so we'll call it that. It only happened on one occasion, and he regrets it every day because he's not violent. But the silence that came after he fashioned his palm into a fist and threw it through the red mist he was unable to dismiss until it connected like a crash test on the same lips not 1 hour before he'd traced against his own in a kiss, was a silence of sound, an inner ear pulse like it was piston driven, hammering a liquid beat, eating his equilibrium like she'd hit him back in a counter-attack. But she didn't. She just stood there, rooted to the spot where the blood drops became the iron brown stains that remain to this day. And as the lower lids filled and tears made their bids for escape, he broke the stalemate and said, "Baby, I'm sorry, but don't worry, you know this isn't me, and I'll get the help I need. I've just been so stressed lately and it's my fault entirely, but I don't always like the way you speak to me." And that night as he slept, she wept and wondered about leaving, about her strength, the kids, and what would happen if she left. Best grieve in peace, she thought, for the loss of what could have been, though she never expected perfection, just a union in the reflection and a mutual acceptance, or even a celebration of the fact that things weren't perfect would have made the pain worth it. And there was that other time. But like he said, that didn't really count due to the amount he'd drunk. And afterwards he cried like a child with a head bump. And he was repentant in an instant, and oh how he loved her, and it was only really a case of emotions running over. And anyway, he didn't so much hit her as pin her to the wall, and you can hardly call that abusive now, can you? And in truth it didn't really hurt, just left her stutter shook. And looking back, perhaps she didn't help matters. Perhaps she could have handled his temper better, or been more deft at dousing that fuse of his, and not made a scene in front of the kids. And she wondered, do our sins stick if we don't remember we did them, or aren't in our right mind when we commit them? And that night as he slept, she crept downstairs and plotted the path to here, from there where he only shot her down with his smile, where while at work he'd call her to tell her he missed her, and where exactly that night he planned to kiss her. There where he'd stop her in her tracks with a laugh attack as he chased her through the house in nothing but his underpants. And there was that last time that was little more than a scratch, a fluid slap with his hands back that in relative terms hardly landed. And in fact to mention it would be to detract from his character, and she refused to have the kids think badly of their father. And rather than sitting quietly as he bravely coughed up the confession of his depression, she couldn't help but stuff his head full of questions, so of course he felt resentment, and why on earth wouldn't she just learn her lesson? But even if she kept slipping up, giving up was not an option. How weak would she have to be to turn her back on this much investment? And that night she knew that things were getting better as he barely got upset and he didn't feel the need to say he was sorry, and she was relieved to see his neck free from the millstone of apology. And that night as he slept, she prepped his breakfast and couldn't wait to see his face when she served him up his favourite. And of course there were those that would say he didn't deserve it, but she knew the happy family portrait would be worth it. And looking forward, she knew that things would be fine again. And so what if she was tasked with asking for a fist or palm every now and then? The main thing is they'd be together and steady while setting a very good example for the children.